that motherfucking time. It is day 48 of reading every single day for the rest of my motherfucking life. We got the muscle check. Look at this. Okay, I'm gonna stop. We are at page 62. Top of page 62. And yeah, I'm excited. I love this. I'm gonna keep doing this every single day, and I'm not gonna stop. Okay. 30 minutes on the clock. Let's get it. Uno, dos, tres. Let's go. Oh, damn. All right. Long after, but still very long ago, there lived by the banks of the great river on the edge of Wilderland a clever-handed and quiet-footed little people. I guess they were of hobbit kind, akin to the fathers of the Stoors, for they loved the river and often swam in it, or made little boats of reeds. There was among them a family of high repute, for it was large and wealthier than most, and it was ruled by a grandmother of the folk stern and wise in old lore, such as they had. The most inquisitive and curious-minded of that family was called Smeagol. He was interested in roots and beginnings. He dived into deep pools. He burrowed under the trees and growing plants. He tunneled into green mounds, and he ceased to look up at the hilltops or leave the leaves on trees, or in the flowers opening in the air. His head and eyes were downward. He had a friend called Deagle, or similar sort, sharper-eyed but not so quick and strong. On a time, they took a boat and went to the glade and fields where they were great beds of iris and flowering reeds. There, Smeagol got out and went nosing about the banks, but Deagle sat in the boat and fished. Suddenly, a great fish took his hook, and before he knew where he was dragged out into the water, to the bottom. Then he let go of his line, for he saw something shining in the riverbed, and holding his breath, he grabbed at it. Then up he came spluttering, with weeds in his hair and a handful of mud, and he swam to the bank, and behold, when he washed the mud away, there in his hand lay a beautiful golden ring, and it shone and glittered in the sun, so that his heart was glad. Smeagol had been watching him from behind the tree, and as Deagle gloated over the ring, Smeagol came softly up behind. "Give us that, Deagle, my love," said Smeagol over his friend's shoulder. "Why?" said Deagle. "Because it's my birthday, my love, and I wants it," said Smeagol. "I don't care," said Deagle. "I have given you a present already, more than I could afford. I found this, and I'm going to keep it." "Oh, are you indeed, my love?" said Smeagol, and he caught Deagle by the throat and strangled him. "Because the gold looks so bright and beautiful." "Oh my God," then he put the ring on his finger. No one have ever found out what had become of Deagle. He was murdered far from home, and his body was cunningly hidden. But Smeagol returned alone, and he found that none of his family could see him. When he was wearing the ring, he was very pleased with his discovery, and he concealed it. And he used it to find out secrets, and he put his knowledge to crooked and malicious uses. He became sharp-eyed and keen-eared for all that was hurtful. The ring had given him power according to his stature. It is not to be wondered at that he became very unpopular, and that shunned when visible by all his relations. They kicked him, and he bit their feet. He took to thieving and going about muttering to himself, and gurgling in his throat. So they called him Gollum, and cursed him, and told him to go far away. And his grandmother, desiring peace, expelled him from the family and turned him out of her hole. He wandered in loneliness, weeping and little for the hardness of the world. And he journeyed up the river till he came to a stream that flowed down the mountains, and he went that way. He caught fish in the deep pools and invisible fingers and ate them raw. One day it was very hot, and he was bending over a pool. He felt a burning on his back of his head, and a dazzling light from the water pained his wet eyes. He wondered at it, for he had almost forgotten about the sun. Then for the last time he looked up and shook his fist at her. But as he lowered his eyes, he saw far ahead of the tops of the misty mountains, of which the stream came, and he thought suddenly, "It would be cool and shady under those mountains. The sun could not watch me there. The roots of those mountains must be roots indeed. There must be secrets buried there which I have not been discovered since the beginning. So he journeyed by night into the highlands, and he found a little cave of which the dark stream ran, and he wormed his way like a maggot into the heart of the hills, and vanished out of all knowledge. The ring went into the shadows with him, and even the marker, when his power had begun to grow again, could learn nothing of it. Gollum, cried Frodo. Gollum? Do you mean that this is the very Gollum creature that Bilbo met? How loathsome! Happened to others, even in the Hobbit that I have known. I can't believe that Gollum was connected with hobbits, however distantly, and Frodo with some heat, said Frodo with some heat. What an abominable notion! It is true all the same, replied Gandalf, about their origins. At any rate, I know more than hobbits. At any rate, hold on, let me fix my hair. Holy shit. My hair's not airing. Like, at all. You gotta fix that shit. What the fuck? That's fine. It is true all the same, replied Gandalf, about their origins, at any rate. I know more than hobbits do themselves, and even Bilbo's story suggests the kinship. There was a great deal in the background of their minds and memory that was similar. They understood one another remarkably well, very much better than a hobbit would understand, say, a dwarf or an orc or even an elf. Think of the riddles they both knew, for one thing. Yes, for one thing. Yes, said Frodo. Though other folk besides hobbits ask riddles and much the same sort, and hobbits don't cheat. Gollum meant to cheat all the time. He was trying to put poor Bilbo off his guard, and I dare say it amused his wickedness to start a game which might end in providing him with an easy victim, but if he lost, would not hurt him. Only too true, I fear, said Gandalf. But there was something else in it, I think, which you don't see yet. Even Gollum was not wholly ruined. He had proved tougher than even one of the wise would have guessed, as a hobbit might. I'm going to read it like this. As a hobbit might. Where am I? Hobbit might. There was a little corner of his mind that was still his own, and light came through it, as through a chink in the dark, light out of the past. It was actually pleasant. I think to hear a kindly voice again, bringing up memories of wind and trees and sun of the grass and such forgotten things. But that, of course, would only make the evil part of him angrier. In the end, unless it could be conquered, unless it could be cured. Gandalf sighed. Alas, there is a little hope that, for him, yet not no hope, though, no, not though he possessed the ring so long, almost as far as back as he can remember, for it was long since he had worn it much. In the black darkness it was seldom needed. Certainly he had never faded. He was thin and tough still, but the thing was eating up his mind, of course, and the torment had become almost unbearable. All the great secrets under the mountains had turned out to be just empty night. There was nothing more to find out, nothing worth doing, only nasty, furtive eating and resentful remembering. He was altogether wretched. He hated the dark, and he hated light more. He hated everything, and the ring most of all. What do you mean? Said Frodo. Surely the ring was precious and the one thing he cared for. But if he hated it, why didn't he get rid of it, or go away and leave it? You ought to begin to understand, Frodo. After all you have heard, said Gandalf. He hated and loved it as hated and loved himself. He could not get rid of it. He had no will left in the matter. A ring of power looks after itself, Frodo. It may slip off treacherously, but its keeper never abandons it. At most, he plays with the idea of handing it on to someone else's care, and that only at an early stage when it first begins to grip, but as far as I know, Bilbo alone in history has never gone beyond playing, and really done it. He needed all my help, too, and even so he would never have just forsaken it or cast it aside. It was not Gollum, Frodo, but the ring itself that decided things. The ring left him. What? Just in the time to meet Bilbo? Said Frodo. Wouldn't an orc have suited it better? It is no laughing matter, said Gandalf, not for you. It was the strangest event in the whole history of the ring so far. Bilbo arrived just at the time, and putting his hand on it, blindly in the dark. There was more than one power at work, Frodo. The ring was trying to get back to its master. It has slipped from Isildur's hand and betrayed him. Then, when a chance came, it caught poor Deagle, and he was murdered. And after that, Gollum, and it had devoured him. And after that, Gollum, and it had devoured him. It could make no further use of him. He was too small and mean. As long as it stayed with him, he would never leave his deep pool out again. So now, when its master was awake once more and sending out his dark thought from Mirkwood, its abandoned Gollum, only to be picked up by the most unlikely person imaginable, Bilbo from the Shire. Behind that, there was something else at work, beyond any design of the Ringmaker. I can put it no plainer than by saying that Bilbo was meant to find the ring, and not by its maker, in which you also were meant to have it, and that may be an encouraging thought. It is not, said Frodo. It is not, said Frodo, though I am not sure that I understand you, but how you have learned all about this ring. But how have you learned all about this ring, and about Gollum? Do you really know it all, or are you guessing still? Gandalf looked at Frodo, and his eyes glinted. I knew much and have learned much, he answered, but I am not going to give an account of all my doings to you. The history of the Eldin in Isildur is one of the rings is known to all the wise. Your ring is shown to be that one ring by the fire writing alone, apart from any other evidence. And when did you discover that? Asked Frodo, interrupting. Just now in this room, of course, answered the wizard sharply, but I expected to find it. I have come back from the dark journeys. I have come back from the dark journeys. I have come back from the dark journeys and long search to make that final test. It is the last proof, and all is now only too clear. Making out Gollum's part and fitting it into the gap in the history required some thought. I may have started with guesses about Gollum, but I am not guessing now. I know. I have seen him. You have seen Gollum? Exclaimed Frodo in amazement. Yes. The obvious thing to do, of course, if one could. I tried long ago, but I have managed it at last. Then what happened after Bilbo escaped from him? Do you know that? Not so clearly. What I have told you is what Gollum was willing to tell, though not, of course, in the way I've reported it. Gollum is a liar, and you have to sift his words. For instance, he called the ring his birthday present, and he stuck to that. He said it came from his grandmother, who had lots of beautiful things of that kind. A ridiculous story. I have no doubt that Smeagol's grandmother was a matriarch, a great person in her way, but to talk of her possessing many elven rings was absurd, and as for giving them away, it was a lie, but a lie worth a grain of truth. The murder of Deagle haunted Gollum, and he had made up a defense, repeating to his precious over and over again as it gnawed bones in the dark until he almost believed it. It was his birthday. Deagle ought to have given the ring to him. It had obviously turned up just to be as a present. It was his birthday present, and so on and on. I endured him as long as I could, but the truth was desperately important, and in the end I had to be harsh. I put the fear of fire on him, and wrung the true story out of him, bit by bit, together with much sneeveling and snarling. He thought he was misunderstood and ill-used, but when he had last told me his story, as far as the end of the riddle game and Bilbo's escape, he would not say any more, except in the dark hints. Some other fear was of him greater than mine. He muttered that he was going to get his own back. People would see if he would stand being kicked and driven into the hole and then robbed. Gollum had friends now, good friends and very strong. They would help him. Baggins would pay for it. That was his chief thought. He hated Bilbo and cursed his name. What is more, he knew where he came from. But how did he find that out? Asked Frodo. Well, as for the name, Bilbo very foolishly told Gollum himself, and after that it would not be difficult to discover his country, once proved stronger than once Gollum came out. Oh yes, he came out. His longing for the ring proved stronger than his fear of the orcs, or even of the light. After a year or two he left the mountains, you see, though still bound by desire of it. The ring was no longer devouring him. He began to revive a little. He felt old, terribly old, yet less timid, and was mortally hungry. Light of the sun and moon, he still feared and hated. and he always will, I think. But he was cunning. He found he could only hide from daylight and moonshine, and make his way swiftly and softly by dead of night, and with his pale cold eyes, and catch small frightened of unwary things. He grew stronger and bolder with new food and new hair. He found his way into Mirkwood as one would expect. Is that where you found him? Asked Frodo. I saw him there, answered Gandalf. But after that he had wandered far, following Bilbo's trail. It was difficult to learn anything from him for certain, for his talk was constantly interrupted by curses and threats. What had it got in its pockets? He said. I wouldn't say. No precious. Little cheat, not a fair question. It cheated first, it did. It broke the rules. We ought to have squeezed it, yes, precious, and we will, precious. That is a sample of his talk. I don't suppose you want any more. I had weary days. Here, let me read it. What had it got in its pockets? What has it got in its pockets? He said. He said, I wouldn't say, no precious. Little cheat, not a fair question. I wouldn't cheat first. It did. It broke the rules. We ought to have squeezed it. Yes, precious, and we will, precious. That is a sample of his talk. I don't suppose you want any more. I had weary days of it. I got the controller right here. Shoot. The MacBook is low on battery. 9%. You think we'll be good? I think we'll be good. It was difficult to learn anything from him for certain, for his talk was constantly interrupted by curses and threats. We had got it in his part. That is a sample of his talk. But from hints dropped among the snarls, I had gathered that his padding feet had taken him east to Esgaroth and even to the streets of Dale, listening secretly and peering. Well, the news of the great events went far and wide in the Wilderland, and many had heard Bilbo's name and knew from where he came from. We had made no secrets of our return journey to his home in the west. Gollum's sharp ears would soon learn what he wanted. Then why didn't he track Bilbo further? Asked Frodo. Why didn't he come to the Shire? Ah, said Gandalf. Now we come to it. I think Gollum tried to. He set out and came westward as far as the great river, but then he turned aside. He was not daunted by the distance, I am sure, though something else drew him away. So my friends think, those who hunted him for me. The wood elves tracked him first, an easy task for them, for his trail was still fresh then. Though Mirkwood was back again and it led them, though they never caught him, the wood was full of the rumor of him, dreadful tales even amongst beasts and birds. The woodmen said that there was some new terror abroad, a ghost that drank blood. It climbed trees to find nests, it crept into holes to find the young, it slipped through the windows to find cradles. But at the western edge of Mirkwood the trail turned away. It wandered off the southwards and passed out the wood elf's ken, and was lost. And then I made a great mistake. Yes, Frodo, and not the first, though. I feared it may prove the worst. I let the matter be. I let him go. For I had much else to think of it at the time, and I still trusted the lore of Saruman. Well, that was years ago. I have paid for it since with many dark and dangerous ways. The trail was long cold when I took it up again, and Bilbo left it there, and my search would have been in vain but for the help that I had from a friend, Aragorn, the greatest traveler and huntsman of the age of the world. Altogether we sought for the Gollum down the whole length of Wilderland, without hope and without success. But at last, when I had given up the chase and turned to the other parts, Gollum was found. My friend returned of great perils, bringing the miserable creature with him. What he had been doing he would not say. He only wept and called us cruel, with many a Gollum in his throat. And when he pressed him, he whined and cringed, and rubbed his long hand, licking his fingers as if they pained him, as if he remembered some old torture. But I afraid there is no possible doubt he had made his slow sneaking way, step by step, mile by mile, south down to last to the land of Mordor. A heavy silence fell in the room. Frodo could not hear his heart beating. Even outside everything seemed still. No sound of Sam's shears could now be heard. Yes, to Mordor, said Gandalf. Alas! Mordor draws all wicked things, and the dark power was bending all in its will to gather them there. The ring of the enemy would leave its mark too, leave him open to the summons, and all folk were whispering then to the new shadow in the south and its hatred of the west. There were his fine new friends and who would help him in his revenge. Wretched fool! In that land he would learn much, too much for his comfort, and sooner or later, as he lurked and pried on the borders, he would be caught and taken for examination. That was the way of it, I fear. When he was taken out when he was found, he had already been there long, and was on his way back, on some errand of mischief. But that does not matter much now. His worst mischief was done. Yes, alas, though him the enemy has learned that one had been found again. He knows where Ilsidor fell. He knows where Gollum found his ring. He knows that it is a great ring, for it gave long life. He knows that it is not one of the three, for they have never been lost, and they endure so evil. He knows that it is not one of the 7 or the 9, for they are accounted for. He knows that it is the one, and he at last heard, I think, of hobbits in the Shire. The Shire he may be seeking for it now, if he has not already found where it lies. Indeed, Frodo, I fear that he may think that the long unnoticed name of Baggins has become important. But this is terrible, cried Frodo. Far worse than the worst that I imagined from your hints and warnings. O Gandalf, best of the friends, what am I to do? For now I am really afraid. What am I to do? What a pity that Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had the chance. Pity? It was pity that stayed his hand, pity and mercy, not to strike without need, and he was all well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he took so little hurt from the evil and escaped the land, because he began his ownership of the ring so, with pity. I am sorry, said Frodo, but I am frightened, and I do not feel any pity for Gollum. You have not seen him, Gandalf broke in. No, and I do not want to, said Frodo. I can't understand you. Do you mean to say that you and the elves have let him live on after all those horrible deeds? Now, at any rate, he is as bad as an orc, and just an enemy. He deserves death. Deserves it? I dare say he deserves it. I dare say he does. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be eager to deal out death in judgment, or even the very wise cannot see all ends. I have not much hope that Gollum can be cured before he dies, but there is a chance of it, and he is bound up with the fate of the ring. My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end, when that comes. The pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many, yours not least. In any case, we do not kill him. He is very old and well-rich. The wood elves have him in prison, but they treat him with the kindness as they can find in their wise hearts. All the same, said Frodo, even if Bilbo cannot kill Gollum, I wish he had not kept the ring. I wish he had never found it, and never had that I had not got it. Why did you let me keep it? Why didn't you make me throw it away or destroy it? Let you? Make you? Said the wizard. Haven't you been listening to all that I have said? You were not thinking of what you were saying. But as far as throwing it away, that was obviously wrong. These rings have a way of being found. In evil hands it may have done great evil. Worst of all, it might have fallen into the hands of the enemy. Indeed, it certainly would, for this is the one, and he is exerting all his power to find it or draw it to himself. Of course, my dear Frodo, it was dangerous for you, and that had troubled me deeply, but there was so much at stake that I had to take some risk. Even though I was far away, there was never been a day when the Shire has not been guarded by watchful eyes. As long as you never used it, I did think that the ring I did not think that the ring would have any lasting effect on you, not for evil, not for any rate, for a very long time. And you must remember that 9 years ago, when I last saw you, I still knew little for certain. But why not destroy it, as you say should have been done long ago, cried Frodo. If you had warned me, or even sent me a message, I would have done away with it. Would you? Would you do that? Have you ever tried? No, but I suppose one could hammer or melt it. Try, said Gandalf. Try now. Frodo drew the ring out of his pocket again and looked at it. It now appeared plain and smooth, without mark or device he could see. The gold looked very fair and pure, and Frodo thought how rich and beautiful was its color, how perfect was its roundness. It was an admirable thing and altogether precious. When he took it out, he had intended to fling it from him into the very hottest part of the fire, but he found now that he could not do so, not without a great struggle. He weighed the ring on his hand, hesitating and forcing himself to remember all that Gandalf had told him. And then with an effort of will he made a movement, as if to cast it away, but he found that he had to put it back in his pocket. Gandalf laughed grimly. "You see, already you too. Frodo cannot easily let it go, nor will to damage it. And I could not make you, except by force, which would break your mind. But as for breaking the ring, force is useless. Even if you took it and struck it with a heavy sledgehammer, it would make no dent in it. It cannot be unmade by your hands or by mine. Your small fire, of course, would not melt away even ordinary gold. This ring has already passed through it unscathed and even unheeded. But there is no smith forge in the Shire that could change at all. Not even the anvils and furnace of the dwarves could. Dwarves could do that. It has been said that the dragon fire could melt and consume the rings of power. But there is not now any dragon left on earth in which the old fire is hot enough. Nor was there ever any dragon, not even in the Akalagan the Black, who could have harmed the One Ring, the ruling ring, for that was made by Sauron himself. There is only one way to find the cracks of doom in the depths of Orodin, the Fire Mountain, and cast the ring in there, if you really wish to destroy it, to put it beyond the grasp of the enemy ever." "I do really wish to destroy it," cried Frodo, "or well to have it destroyed. I am not made for perilous quests. I wish I had never seen the ring. Why did it come to me? Why was I chosen?" "Such questions cannot be answered," said Gandalf. "You may be sure it was not for any merit that others do not possess, not for your power or wisdom at any rate. But you have chosen, and you have been chosen, and you must therefore use strength and heart and wits as you have. But I have so little of any of these things. You are wise and powerful. Will you not take the ring?" "No," cried Gandalf, springing to his feet. "With that power I should have power too great and terrible. And over me the ring would gain a power still greater and more deadly." His eyes flashed and his face was lit by a fire within. "Do not tempt me, for I do not wish to become like the Dark Lord himself. Yet the way of the ring to my heart is by pity for the weakness and the desire to do good. Do not tempt me. I dare not take it, and even to keep it safe, unused. The wish to wield it would be too great for my strength. I shall have such need of it. Great perils lie before me." He went to the window and drew aside the curtains and shutters. Sunlight streamed back again into the room. Sam passed along the path outside, whistling. "And now," said the wizard, turning back to Frodo, "the decision lies with you, but I will always help you." He laid his hands on Frodo's shoulder. "I will help you bear this burden as long as it is yours to bear, but we must do something soon. The enemy is moving." There was a long silence. Gandalf sat down and puffed at his pipe, as if lost in thought. His eyes seemed closed, but under the lids he was watching Frodo intently. Frodo gazed fixed at the red embers of the hearth, until they filled all of his vision, and he seemed to be looking down into profound wells of fire. He was thinking of the fabled cracks of doom and the terror of the fiery mountain. "Well," said Gandalf at last, "what are you thinking about? Have you decided what to do?" "No," answered Frodo, coming back to himself out of the darkness, and finding to his surprise that it was not dark, and that out of the window he could see the sunlit garden. "Or perhaps yes. As far as I understand what you have said, I suppose I must keep the ring and guard it, at least for the present, whatever it may do to me. Whatever it may do, it will be slow to evil, if you keep it with that purpose," said Gandalf. "I hope so," said Frodo, "but I hope that you may find some other better keeper soon. But in the meanwhile it seems that I am in a danger to all that live near me. I cannot keep the ring and stay here. I ought to leave Bag End, leave the Shire, and leave everything and go away." He sighed. "I should like to save the Shire, if I could, though there have been times when I thought the inhabitants too stupid and dull for words, and have felt that an earthquake or an invasion of dragons might be good for them. But I don't like that now, and I feel that as long as the Shire lies behind, safe and comfortable, I shall find wandering more bearable. I shall know that somewhere there is a firm foothold, even if my feet cannot stand there again. Of course, I have sometimes thought of going away, But I imagined that a kind of holiday, a series of adventures like Bilbo's, or better ending in peace. But this would mean exile, a flight from a danger into danger, drawing it after me. And I suppose I must go alone, if I am to do that and save the Shire. But I feel very small and very uprooted and, well, desperate. The enemy so strong and terrible. He did not tell Gandalf, but as he was speaking, to a great desire to follow Bilbo flamed up in his heart to follow Bilbo, and even perhaps to find him again. It was so strong that it overcame his fear. He could have almost run out there and then down the road without his hat, as Bilbo had done on a similar morning long ago. "My dear Frodo!" exclaimed Gandalf. "Hobbits really are amazing creatures, as I have said before. You can learn all that is to know about their ways in a month, and yet after 100 years, they can still...
Tuesday? How they gonna stop you? How the fuck are they gonna stop you? Get up off the fucking couch, look at yourself in the mirror, and just spit at the mirror. Fuck you, cocksucker. I'm going out there to get what's belonging to me. Fuck them. You run this motherfucker. They can't stop you on a fucking Tuesday.
Let's go! That was day 48 of reading every single day for the rest of my life for 30 minutes. See y'all day 49. Let's go.